Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! It's been almost 1 year to the day that we made a video about the D4. It's crazy how time just keeps passing by. So I want to take a look today at crewing this. This is actually a series that we had started, and I apologize. We've not continued with it just because all the things going on with the arcs. We've missed a couple weeks. So it's good to go ahead and take this bad boy out and show you what it can do. And look, when it first came out, I wasn't in love with it. The weird little like insect tail for the engine and everything, but as the game has gone on, updates have come out to the mechanics of actually running through the attack simulations and officers that have come out, even the battle log updates. I really love this as a PvP ship. Now, it can do everything, but I really love it as a PvP ship, and I want to go through various crews. Now, I'm going to go through some basic generic crews all the way up to probably the best crews that you can really run on it. We've got about 7 of those. We're going to try to go through semi-quickly. Please apologize, and I am right now, for any craziness that might ensue during this show, which is pretty normal because, well, it's me. So I'm gonna give you a very generic basic one, and this is common for everybody. You all probably have run this at some point or another, and yes, I'm telling you that max morale works well on the D4. Now, it is not an optimal loadout in terms of highest end that you can go, the best that you could possibly be, but it is a good starter set to think about. And this really, and we've talked about this before, this works on everything. So I'm putting it in here to provide some generic crews early on because maybe you don't have some of the more complicated things that we'll mention. So yes, you can run this and then you would stack defense, but you also remember, you really want to max out all these bonuses if you can. But this is a good starter one. Cool? Gucci. Knock these out. Yeah, y'all got to go. It's not, that's it. We're done with that. Then we're going to do our sorting here by name, and we're going to scroll over, and this is why the power of editing is so nice. So I'm going to give you another generic one. And I'm only going to use Chang simply so I can find them quicker. We're not actually using Chang. We're going to do Gorkon, Kurla, and yeah, we're going to redo that. And then if we can find that big guy, where's he at, big guy? Come over here. Come over here. Khan. This is another generic one. You should probably be running this in the late 20s whenever you unlock it, but this is a generic run of Gorkon Kurla Khan. It's very common. Remember the firing pattern of the D4. It fires every round from one weapon, but that weapon fires twice, and these are kinetic shots. So you're using Kurla Khan critical, so you're running a critical build here, focusing on critical damage growth, because you get the whole breach growth to criticals, and you have the critical damage multiplier, which is right here for me, right at 193%. So you're just the generic critical build and going for the biggest bang that you can possibly do. Is it the best loadout in the world? No. But once again, we're going for generic to start off with. Now let's go ahead and try to leave the generic behind just a smidge, because we're going to leave Gorkon on, and we're going to replace that with, I probably should have left Khan there, but yeah, we'll just find it later. Yeah, we just need to sort by name. So glad that's there because I would be so lost. Gorkon, Captain Tilly, and then where's he at? Khan. Now, you'll remember, or at least be somewhat familiar, because you're probably expecting this to be Lorca Tilly Khan. And you're right, it could be and should be. But the reason that we're running with Gorkon here is because obviously this is a situation where you don't have Lorca. But that doesn't mean that Killy is still not really good, because it simply means at the start of each round, if the opponent has a hull breach, increases the armor, shield, deflection, and dodge by 50%. So you're still getting the pieces that make her so good, and while you're not getting the full effect of Lorca, which is the damage reduction to your opponent, it still can be effective, getting the mitigation boost, as well as combining Gorkon and Khan, who are a fantastic pairing, to go for a critical build. So this works out really well as well, even if you don't have Lorca. Now, replacing Gorkon with Lorca is one of the top builds in the game for this level range. In the 30s, one of the metas is definitely Lorca, Tilly, Khan. It's a fantastic run. Now, as you level up into the 40s, you get more and more of the use out of the Trinity officers, and we've talked about that before. Sharvnik, Marcus, Kang. We'll see a little bit of those in a second. This is another kind of mid-tier run that you can throw in. I want to throw in another mid-tier run, which we'll be using some of those officers that we talk about that are, you know, Trinity. We're not going to use all 3 of them, though, because that might seem a little bit silly. But let's get Marcus in here, sort by group. We're going to throw Yuki on. Now, we're going to make Yuki as captain. So you see, we're going to get that 15% shield strip And then what we're going to go do is grab one of the buddies. Yeah, we're going to go grab one of the buddies. And I forgot to throw in, while we were doing this earlier, wow, just where there, thank you, Sharvanik. So I forgot to do this earlier, but we were doing Kirk Spot Con. I'm not Kirk Spot Con, which you can run Kirk Spot Con, another generic loadout. You can also run 5 of 10 as Captain Kirk Spock to raise your mitigation and keep your shields up, but you're not getting the same level of damage boost. Now this one is a mixed loadout, because you talk about trying to find things that kind of work against everything. This is giving you a shield strip plus the mitigation bypass, or upgrading your piercings against the ugly Enterprises, the Centurions, and the Borels, particularly the Centurions and the Borels, to fight through those, and even the ISS Jellyfishes. And then the Sharvanik is for taking on the Augurs. And this is a mixed build. It's not the best, but if you're talking about trying to find things where you can hit multiple targets, this would allow you to do that. The shield stripping obviously going to work out really well, and this could be very nasty versus Augurs, so keep that in mind. Now if you replace Sharvanik with Kang, now you're loaded out for other D4s, interceptors like the Saladin and the Gladius, while also still having the shield strip and a little bit of kind of, the same idea with Sharvanik and Marcus, is you can still fight the Explorers with it, but as we've got this extra shield strip, helps hopefully produce more damage in the end. Now this is not a high end like the Lorca Tilly Con, but it's still a really good loadout. That's what it would look like if you swap Sharvanik for Kang. Once again, we're going for the mitigation drop of our opponent by raising our piercing numbers and mitigation. Same thing over here, and then the shield strip of Yuki. So let's get them out now. And let's go to another set. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast or anything. I'm just trying to get through a lot of these different sets to help you out. I really want to focus on one of my favorite sets in the game, and I've harped on this a lot because I think we've all noticed that there are a ton of Enterprises in this game. I mean, a lot of Enterprises. Well, one thing that you can do to fight off those Enterprises is to run an anti-Federation crew centered around Marcus, Merritt, Krell. Now, it's probably going to take me a minute to pull all these up because they're all over the place and they're from different sets. And I've talked before that, people ask, well, shouldn't I run, Synergy? Synergy is not always the best thing. This is one of my favorite sets in the game, and this will obliterate most Enterprises. However, there's a caveat here. You do need to have these officers leveled up. If this is level 1, this is an awful loadout. If you got level 1 Marcus, level 1 Merritt, Krell, level 2, not good. But if you get these leveled up to level 4-ish, for example, this Krell is a level 4, 175% bonus. Level 5 is a 500% bonus to the weapons damage, and they stack. So if you have both of them, then you're getting 1,000%. And even if you've only got 2 at rank 4, you're still getting a pretty impressive 350% bonus, which is more than, if you remember, your attack bonus is anyway. So you're getting basically more than double of an officer bonus. So you will see an immediate impact there. And then, of course, Marcus is giving you extra piercing to fight against those Enterprises. So not only are you smashing them with even more firepower than they're used to handling, you're also bypassing their shields and bypassing their mitigation, not bypassing their shields, bypassing their mitigation, which is probably the most important factor in the game, everybody. We talk about it all the time. Mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. That is the #1 thing that you can do. And this is purely an anti-Enterprise loadout. I mean, you can fight other Federation ships like an Intrepid here, but this isn't going to give you much of a boost versus the Intrepid, but these two will. But one thing that the D4 has, and I talk about this all the time, a natural advantage against the Enterprise because of how its weapons are loaded out. If you remember, the Enterprise regenerates its shields every time it's hit. However, because these weapons are one weapon every round and they fire twice, it only regens actually once. The Enterprise can only regenerate its shields once per round because of how this weapon is, even though you're getting 2 shots off. So you can actually strip the shields of an Enterprise with the D4. This is probably a max tier one, simply based on the firing pattern of how the weapons work, while still putting out really good damage. Now, if that is a high tier Enterprise, don't worry about it. You're going to dump their mitigation by using Marcus and be able to surprise quite a few of them, and they're going to be pretty upset. Those Enterprise folks don't like it when their ships go boom. So, hope you enjoyed the video. These are just a few crews that you can use to load out your D4. And if you want to take down a D4, The answer is Kang. We'll talk about that in another video. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Share this out with anybody who may need to know it. Let me know what ship you want to see crewed out next down below. And if you have any questions about the cruise, I will be glad to explain. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. We'll catch you on the next one. Deuces. That's me. Ha! An even better outro than the intro. Yeah! Woo!